Hello everyone and welcome to the third update of our little project which we currently refer to as Autoconquest. And yeah, actually I'm quite happy about our little hobby project gaining a little bit of traction, and I'm quite surprised myself how much we've achieved in just the last 2 or 3 weeks. So for myself, I kept on pushing a little bit through the tutorials, which I showed you in the last videos. So the tutorials are from the YouTuber Quill18 Creates, and the series is called Mostly Civilized. And what he does right there is he basically creates, based on the Unity gaming engine, he creates a civilization game type engine. And that's actually what we are kind of interested in, because I told it in the last couple of videos that we actually want to have a world map based on a hexagonal tile field. We switched away from the idea to do it in 2D and basically more drifted into the three-dimensional domain. And yeah, I'm not only watching these videos, but I'm actually trying to program it while watching it. So for me, it always takes me like, for a half an hour, it takes me like 2 hours. So I watched 10 of those videos at the moment, and what I got so far is I got this world map. It gets procedurally generated, or it's randomly generated. It's not called procedurally generated, and that's actually something I don't like, because we don't want to have like random clusters of grass and forests. We want to set everything by hand. So we want to start out with one big campaign map. So this was at the beginning of the tutorial series, but now it gets a little bit more fun, I have to say, and cooler, because now we added camera movements. And what you can see right here, I can use the arrow keys or WASD, and I can move around the camera. And I have to say this feels super smooth, because it also uses gravity. So maybe you can see it if I press left or right. It just not goes left or right like super static, but a little bit smoother. So it starts a little bit slower and ends a little bit slower, so it accelerates. And it feels super smooth when I'm doing it. But that's not all. We also have, so this was actually the program called Camera Keyboard Controller, but we also have the Camera Mouse Controller, which we added to the main camera as components. You can see it right here, and you can see the same what I'm doing with the keys. I can also do it with the mouse. You see, I can press the left key and then I can drag it around, and then I can also zoom in and out. And what I really liked, and I'm not sure if we want to use it later in the project. Let's see. We also have the option when zooming in to give the zoom a little angle. Um, I mean, we have to see how this works, but I think it could be a cool effect if you want, for instance, to zoom into a monster. You can see. Um, Maybe you can see it. The angle changes a bit now. So that's how far I'm with the tutorial. I'm at episode 11, right? And it's 27 episodes, so it will take me at least 2 or 3 more weeks to finish. In the meantime, I've been busy with adding some content or with game designing. And like I said in the last video, I don't want to restrict myself to only programming or learning programming, or to only game designing, because I think it's easy to get stuck. So I also started with creating a little bit of the game systems. And for instance, how is the combat supposed to work? So I told you that we planned that the heroes, or the different groups which you control, similar to Heroes of Might and Magic, run around on your world map, and then the combat is basically based on auto chess. So how does this work? So first of all, if you press your button, for instance, you press the I, typically inventory, but we don't have an inventory, so maybe it's a C, it's better, maybe for characteristics. So you press this one being on the world map, and then this window opens. And at the moment, my friend Veggie wants to program this in parallel to me doing the world map. Let's see how good he's doing. I hope he will progress. Let's see about that. But if you open that window, then first you can skip between the different groups. So if you, for instance, skip from group 1 to group 2, there might be completely different heroes. Then you can change from this character view where you can inspect all your individual characters within the group to this basically tactical view, and there you can drag and drop your characters into this hexagonal map. And basically this is a representation how your heroes or your members of your guild or whatever will align when a combat starts. Here you will also see the synergies from your total group. So you might know this from auto chess, but for instance, if you have 2 dwarfs in your group, then you might get, for instance, a bonus of plus 200 to their health points. If you have, for instance, 4 dwarfs, they might get a bonus of plus 1000. And at the moment we plan with having up to 4 traits for each character, so the combinatoric possibilities in terms of synergies might be very large, so very hard to control for us what the players will come up with. But I mean, everything about that is not set in stone. Something cool which I at the moment plan would be that everyone can have 2 items. I don't want to overdo it and give everyone like 10 item slots. I think if you have like 100 characters, this might get a little bit annoying. So only 2 item slots. But 1 item slot should be very important, 1 additional one, and this should be a conditional item slot for consumables. What I mean by that is that you can, for instance, drag from your backpack, drag and drop, for instance, a health potion, and then you can do a condition. If the health of your character within the combat drops under 50%, then the health pot is automatically taken. And I think these conditions are important because the combat system won't be active, so you cannot click on a button and say, now use the item, but it will be static, so it will be predetermined. So the fun of the game will be the planning before the combat and finding the right synergies, giving the right items, setting up the right conditions, putting the heroes in the right position. For instance, if you fight against assassins, you might prefer to put these guys in the front and the back, that they block the back and not the front. So yeah, that's pretty much the idea, and that's why I think these conditions might be cool. Okay, and like I told you, so this is at the moment what my friend Veggie is planning to do, to program. But we also have a 3rd person in our group now who's very interested. He's also a very good programmer, actually a lot better than myself. But I'm more like the creative guy and kind of jack of all trades. He's like hardcore programmer, really good. And he's planning on doing the combat system. So, and we really want to start low level. So what he will do is he will just try to set up basically a chess field where you put enemies, and at the start we don't want to control via GUI, but we will just put basically character classes on specific points of the map, and then they will just fight against each other. And not movement, but they will just have unlimited range and then basically bash their heads in, and we won't use any models. We will just use like blocks, basically filler 3D models. Yeah, and then we will go step by step and expand this combat system. I'm really looking forward. I think it can be done quite well. Okay, and you can see I also planned a little bit in terms of the the management aspect of the game. So because we have this world map aspect, then we have this auto chess aspect, and then I want to have this feature where you basically can control your own base, and you can build up your base, you can make it grow a little bit like a browser game. And don't want to go into detail about this, maybe another time, but as you can see, I pretty much planned all the features already and hoping that those features are kind of cool. At least the guys I talked to so far thought like, okay, it's not so bad. Yeah, and now I want to talk about the world map once again, because I still was undecided whether we want to go with basically, okay, we are now set to a 3D world, right? But we could still put a plane over it and paint it in 2 dimensions and get rid of all these models and paint everything in 2D. But I tend more and more to go into a direction that we should go and use 3D, especially. I'm not sure about the world map, but especially about the combat system. And we also thought a lot about the story, so we also want to have a campaign with story, at least for the start. Maybe later, if we want to increase the scope, we will have auto-generated maps, but at the start we only want one map and one campaign, one storyline, and we're happy if this works. And yeah, so we thought that maybe it makes more sense to use 3D models. And I think since we don't have a real artist, at least I think maybe I should create the first couple of models. So while doing all this stuff, writing story, creating the stuff right here, and learning a little bit about Unity, I also tried out a bit experimenting with Blender, and you see this is a model, a low polygon model, which I downloaded from the internet. It was free, and I'm not sure if the proportions are cool because we want to go into dark fantasy, and as you can see he has like these huge hands, so it's a bit stylized, but I'm not sure if it's bad to have stylized graphics, and I think it could be I think I'm actually not professional enough and a artist professional enough to do a model completely by myself. So my idea was to maybe just take this one and alter it, and maybe create the 5 or 6 first characters, so that we at least can create a demo for a Kickstarter. And yeah, and I can show you my progress with this. So this is the model, and what I just did was that I've changed the facial features a bit. So, and I actually gave him hair, you can see it right here. So this was actually not that hard to do, and I think it would not be that hard, for instance, to give him a weapon and to add a little bit armor. And then especially since we're, I think we should do low polygon. I'm not sure how much polygons we actually can use. At the moment this are 2000 polygons, I think this is still alright. But I think the hardest part, which breaks the neck of every guy who's trying to do 3D modeling, is the unwrapping. Fortunately, I've done this when I was a lot younger, and Blender makes it a lot easier than it used to be. So you can see I drew this UV map, so I unwrapped this map right here. And then this is also a very cool feature. You can actually, you can see it right here. You can now actually paint, oops, okay, I ruined it. You can actually paint directly into the model. And I have a huge pencil. I'm not very good with Blender right now. Is it smaller now? No, the radius is too large, I guess. Let's do it like that. Okay, now it is smaller. Now you can see I can paint on it. And this is how the texture is looking. And of course this looks horrible, I know that. But what you can do right now is you can export this, and you know exactly where will be the eye. And then for instance I can just, out of a photograph, I can cut out the eye and in Photoshop put it on this unwrapped texture. And then I can, when I'm done, I can put it back on this model. So I think at least for a little tech demo, I should be capable of creating the first couple of characters. Yeah, hopefully. So this is just some experimenting, and I think in the end what we are needing right now is basically a first demo of the world map with working camera functions, with characters which can move, maybe a little dialogue system for the story to tease a bit. Then we need the combat system, at least first prototype. We need some graphics for at least a little bit of the world map. We need some graphics for the combat system. I would wish to have 3D models, not sure if we're good enough, but actually it gives me some courage to see that this worked out. I mean, I know it's not great, but it wasn't that hard to do. So I think if I invest a little bit more work, this was probably like 1 hour. If I invest like maybe 1 or 2 days, I think I could come up with a character. And then we need the graphical user interface to work, and then I think we would be ready for a Kickstarter. In terms of the scope of the time frame, I think we were very fast right now. I'm not delusional. I still think the whole project is kind of, a bit dangerous. It's dangerous to underestimate what you will need. But I think we were very fast. I think to have a tech demo, since we're all working and just doing this as our hobby, I think it might be realistic to maybe have a little tech demo in 3 months, probably. Yeah, but if we keep pushing with the energy we have right now and with the effort, then this might work out. Okay, though, that's the little update for today. There's some more stuff which we did. For instance, we kept on pushing a little bit in terms of the story. I don't want to tell about that, so this will be a secret for now. But yeah, that's it. See you maybe next week.